Hey friends, I am arriving at the end of, well, really my first weekend of shows, of performances, because last weekend was canceled. And I'm just feeling some gratitude around the fact that I'm here doing this show. And it's kind of interesting because it's not that I hadn't felt good about it until now, but there's just been something really rewarding about this experience and about doing the show over and over. And there's something really cool about, this show in particular, because every single night we have a different audience member playing the lead. So that means that by definition there's this unknown factor in the center of the piece every night, and there's something really, and of course that's been part of the concept forever, and every other performance that I've done, that's always been the case. When we did the workshop, it was the same thing, but doing it over and over again, doing a full run in the way that I'm kind of in the middle of right now, it's really becoming a felt sense experience of those variables and what each person brings and what our expectations are. Sometimes when the person comes in, when we first meet them, and then they start the show, and then we think we're off on one particular kind of track, and then it totally changes. Today was really, really beautiful. I got to watch a woman, 76 years old, play MacGyver. And I actually sensed that when she started, she wasn't so sure this was for her. I could be wrong about that, but she might have just been warming up. But it was I had the sense that over the course of the play, she sort of owned it and came into her own with it, and really began to feel less like a puppet, less like someone who was being employed by the show to perform a certain function, and more like a member of the team, more like a member of the group. I just had that sense that she, I'd love to speak to her about it. I didn't really get a chance to debrief with her afterwards, but it was really cool to watch that happen. It was really cool to watch that change in investment and that change in trust. There was a really profound deepening of trust that seemed to happen as the night wore on, and it was just so fun to watch. It was just so cool to see that happen and to experience that thing that we've been talking about, and in some ways attempting to craft for quite a long time. But of course, it's really hard to know if it's working until you start to see it in action. So that was a great experience today. I'm ready for a couple of days off. It's an exhausting show to run, but it's been cool. And I've had another, I think there's been another aspect to all this. And again, I wouldn't say this is a new insight, but something that's been arriving for me as a kind of an orienting insight is a sense that, as satisfying as this experience is, and as great of a time as I'm having here, and as much as I'm learning, not to in any way diminish all the positives that have come from this, there's also a sense I've had of really being kind of encouraged to take ownership of my own work and to put some attention and energy into that. There's a sense of real it's like, I think I said this recently, but it's a sense of really understanding that that's valuable, and also kind of lights a fire under me. I've spoken a bit in the past about how sometimes it's really easy when you're the member of a team. It's easy to kind of outsource that final creative responsibility, especially when someone has kind of explicitly taken that role. When that's clear, kind of from the get-go, it's easy to just offload that sense of deep conviction of being the one who's carrying the load, who's ultimately responsible. It's like the buck stops here in the creative realm, and this being here and doing this work has just kind of, it keeps the message that keeps showing up is, do your own thing, do it, take that responsibility, do not shy away from it, and whatever the project may be, there's a real sense of like, I've had a repeated sense of like an imperative telling me to take ownership of this and to just keep moving the ball down the field, even if it feels like, what is it? What could it possibly amount to? There's so many it's so easy to think when we are working on something of our own, and especially when it's kind of a nascent thing, sort of in the process of being born. In our training, we call it kind of larval, in the sense of like it's barely even formed yet, still a larva of a piece. It's just really easy to want to invest in things that have clear contours, a clear chance of success, supposedly. Of course, ultimately we never really know what our chance of success is, but something that appears to extend an obvious lever of success. And I think being here, and doing this work, again, not to diminish any of the positives that have taken place, but it's kind of just reminded me of my own creative agency, and the fact that that's really important to take ownership of and to invest in. but I'm also seeing some of the ways in which I maybe avoid that. I avoid either taking responsibility, or I avoid taking the full risk. Really, just it's the investment. The investment, when I experience resistance around the investment itself, around putting in the time, around crafting the thing, that's how I know there's something there. I mean, it's not the resistance that tells me that something there, although a lot of times that is an indicator. But that desire to I think I'm just seeing some of the ways in which I avoid my own I avoid making that investment for a variety of reasons, but usually because something else seems to promise an easier or more tangible, palpable, direct form of success, and a process that deepens my skill sets and that puts me in relationship to the work. It's like it dusts that off, and it's been a really good reminder of make that investment, because ultimately, when I glimpse that perspective, it's like, what could possibly be a better investment? What on earth could possibly ever be a better investment? And it's almost nothing. It's almost nothing. It's that willingness and that openness and what it offers me in terms of nourishment and what kind of, it's like investing in my own connection to myself. And I think I feel like I'm being primed to take that more seriously. And I'm really grateful for that. It's something that I really want to hold on to and be conscious of, both as I finish out this period here and then as I transition back into my life in New Mexico, which is less than 2 weeks from now, or about 2 weeks from now, almost exactly. So, yeah, I'm feeling all that, and I'm almost saying it out loud for myself so that I track it, and so that I can actually make good on that, actually capitalize on this impulse that feels so self-evident right now. So that's where I'm at today. Make that investment in my own connection. It's a great lesson. It's a wonderful thing to have emerge. So, thanks for watching, people. Love you. Appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.